Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. You're tuned into the Sajdah channel, and tonight is the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, and we're going to be going over one of my most popular webinars on emotional fitness. So grab you something to drink, get a pen and paper so you can take some notes, like and subscribe, tell a friend, and I'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Anticipate and mitigate the emotional impact of negative financial issues that could potentially create financial trauma. Identify whether or not your relationship with money is negatively impacted by a previously traumatic event. Learn to manage your decisions and mindset to help prevent the onset of financial trauma. Understand how to handle financially devastating events like foreclosure, how to avoid getting into a situation that threatens your property, and how to save your property if you are in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure. Navigate your way through a divorce and how to potentially avoid financial devastation to your family. You will walk away with resources to help you start, manage, and scale your business. You'll walk away with resources who can help you to avoid and prevent foreclosures. You also walk away with resources to help you avoid and navigate divorce. You will walk away knowing that you are not alone. Be a friend and tell a friend. Register today.
Yes, yes, and yes. Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Our financial trauma boot camp is coming up. It's on September 15th, and it's only $88 per household, thanks to one of our sponsors. And so we're so excited to bring this information to you. We're going to be talking about all those things that you just saw on the video and even more. I have a very special presentation for that evening. And I am very, very excited. So grab a friend. It's only $88 per household. Bring a student, sponsor a family. Okay. Tonight we're going to be talking about emotional fitness. One of the most popular presentations that I'm asked to do is about and around emotional intelligence and emotional fitness. When I was on my emotional intelligence journey, I started working on emotional intelligence as a adjunct to study guide 18, Rising Above Emotions into the Thinking of God. I became a certified emotional intelligence coach, and I started incorporating a lot of that information into the workshops and things like that I do. So this is one of the more popular ones. I'm going to do it for us tonight. It ties in with one of the chapters of the book, and we're going to, keep going through that. And let's see. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have a special birthday breakfast. No, not breakfast. Birthday coffee talk for me. And so I'm excited about that. We're going to just have some fun. It's time to just live, man. But let's get this emotional intelligence in order. Let's start healing from some of this financial trauma. It's time to win, man. It's time. I'm ready to be that bottom rail that gets raised to the top. I don't know about y'all. So I'm working on myself, and I'm working hard. So, all right. Thank you for those who are joining. Congratulations to you. If you are on tonight, we're going to work through this and get through this and then get ready. I'm going to go watch some of the interview with Sister Kamala Harris, Sister Vice President Kamala Harris, and get ready for the birthday coffee talk in the morning. So emotional fitness. It's all about learning to be resilient, positive, and focused. Okay. Think of your emotions like a muscle. And we have to work on exercising them and stretching them and understanding. For most of us, we are very emotionally stiff. We have one or two emotional states that we live in. And even if we find ourselves in a different one, we race back to that old one that we're so comfortable with. Most of us are very emotionally stiff. We can't stretch ourselves. We don't want to feel any additional emotions. We don't want to let ourselves be vulnerable. We don't want to stretch out there. We don't even want to think about what that particular new emotion could even mean. Okay. As I mentioned, I am a certified emotional intelligence coach, and I'm a business developer and a bunch of other stuff like that. All right. So moving on to our next slide. Here's some key takeaways. All right. You can take a look at that. I always say, is it this way or that way? In addition to these, one of the things that I try to do with emotional intelligence is to help us to understand what our emotions are here to teach us. Okay. What our emotions are here to teach us. Why are you feeling a certain way? And the most important thing you can do for yourself, besides prayer, is to check in with yourself and see how you're feeling. And ask yourself, be honest with yourself, have a real intimate relationship with yourself and say, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? And when you figure out how you're feeling, it should put you in a position where you now know how to change your emotional state. All right. Because if you find yourself in a funk, you want to have the power to bring yourself out of your funk, boom, like that. You want to know what body parts to move, what physiology you should change. Go for a walk. I went for a walk today. Let me tell y'all something. I went over the weekend when it was like close to 100 degrees. Don't ask me why. I did like 4.5 miles. And then twice this week, I've done like 3 to 4 each. Well, today I thought, okay, I can really get it today because it's only like 80 degrees, but the barometric pressure is crazy. And I found myself going, what does this barometric pressure try to tell me? Well, what it needed to tell me was, girl, get back in the house. All right, so a little bit about me. Those of you who watch the network, who are part of the Sajdah channel family, you know me, you know what I do. This is a cover of my book. The QR code to our upcoming workshop is right there. And just a list of stuff that I do. Usually I do this for audiences who don't know me as well as many of you do. And if you still don't know me, if you go to the channel, there is a video that just says about your coach or something like that. You'll see it. All right. So emotional fitness. I want you to think of your emotions like a muscle that you have to exercise, that you have to get in shape, that you have to strengthen, that you have to use. Okay. Because if you have a muscle and you don't use it, what happens? It goes into atrophy. And it's not stronger. It doesn't serve you the way it should if you use it, if you exercise it, if you stretch it, if you feed it the right foods. That's how we should be thinking about our emotional state of mind. Okay. It should be nimble. It should be pliable. It should be strong. You don't want it to be rigid. You don't want it to have atrophy. You want to really, really work on those emotions. Don't be afraid of your emotions. Dig into them, study them, figure out like, what is this? What are these emotions here to tell me? All right. 7 traits of emotional fitness. And this ties very closely into emotional intelligence. Okay. Number 1 is self-awareness. Awareness is the mother of emotional intelligence because you cannot do anything if you are not aware of your emotional states. Okay. Number 2 is empathy. Empathy meaning that you understand how your actions impact others. And you can easily, I'm saying this in layman's terms, you can easily put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So you can feel what they're feeling. You can see where they're coming from. You have the ability to turn that thing around and look at it in 3D and say, okay, I get where you're coming from. I feel you at that moment. And when you're able to have that type of quantum emotional reach, It's going to really help you and I become more emotionally intelligent, because part of the problem with people who are not intelligent emotionally is that they respond like children, and they don't often consider, care, or are even aware of how other people are feeling. So that's why number 2 is empathy. Number 3 is mindfulness. And again, being mindful of how you use your emotions. I like to use my emotions as a compass because they tell me where I'm at. I have a path that I try to be on. I try to keep my eye on my own prizes. I don't really stray. I don't compete. I don't really care about what anybody else is doing. I care to the extent that I'm empathetic, and I'm really all about trying to support and help people and nurture. But I'm very mindful of the direction that I'm going in. And so mindfulness is extremely important for me. And I use, those of you who know me, you know I use meditation to take myself into a space so that I'm very mindful about where I am, and I'm very mindful of what my goal is or goals are. Curiosity, again, part of stretching and growing and strengthening those muscles is being curious. What was that? What was that I just felt? Man, I was just having this conversation with somebody and I felt this wave of excitement. What was that? Or I just got up and walked into the kitchen and I was having this thought and I just felt excited. So the question is always being curious. What was that? What does that emotion mean? And you can have a conversation with yourself about that emotion. And I say things like, Allah, what was that? What did you want me to, what signal were you sending me? What can I do with that? Or if I find myself being anxious or afraid or nervous, I automatically say, God, what information do you want me to have access to that I'm either missing, not paying attention to, or just don't even know that I need to know? Because I understand that fear and anxiety and worry is just lack of information. So I'll say it. If I don't have it in front of me, point me in the right direction. Download it. I'll even say, Allah, download into me what I need to know to get rid of this fear. So using that, playing with it, that's number 5. Just kind of playing with it is very, very important. Okay, thank you, Nana. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Then resilience. Okay, you got to be able to be resilient. A lot of us, everything that happens to us becomes a trauma. That's why we're having the financial trauma boot camp. That's why you got to use the QR code up there and join the financial trauma boot camp on September 15th. It's only $88 a household. Why? Because most of us, we're so stuck on safety, and we have this false illusion of safety such that anything that happens to us, any and everything that happens to us creates some type of trauma, some type of negative impact on us that we just have a difficulty bouncing back from. But you got to be able to bounce back and laugh your way through it. I remember when we were building the hospital, at one point, it was like something was happening every day. 2 things would happen every day. And sometimes it would be one mixed in. Either we would get an attack and we would just laugh our way through it like, oh, Lord, what in the world? What is happening now? And then the other one would be some kind of massive opportunity would come almost every single day. We go, okay, what's going to happen today? And so I started this thing of, look, I can't wait to see how Allah is going to show up and show out today. And so I started anticipating that every single day, as soon as I woke up, let me get up. Let me get up and get to the gym. I used to go to CrossFit at 6 a.m. Let me get up and get my workout in, because I cannot wait to see how Allah is going to show up and show out today. And so that anticipation put me in a certain vibrational space that made me very resilient in the face of a lot of controversy and a lot of competition. And then the number 7 for emotional fitness is communication. And any coach will tell you that the quality of your communication will determine the quality of your life. If you can't communicate, you're going to have a tough time with relationships. You're going to have a tough time in business. You're going to have a tough time at work. It's going to be rough. And so learning to properly communicate clearly, concisely, and listening is also part of communication. Understanding all of that is very, very key. All right. So we talked a little bit about self-awareness. Okay. And practicing self-awareness is the first step that if you bring me on as a coach for emotional intelligence, that we're going to work on. What are your emotions? Because some of us put our emotions in maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 buckets. Okay. We're either happy or sad or mad. And even if we're afraid, we don't distinguish fear from sadness. We don't think about the other layers like gratitude and, some of all of those other ones that we should be very keenly aware of. So we'll go through this exercise of how do we acknowledge and how do we stop ourselves? One of the easiest way, I believe, is to learn how to meditate. Learn how to meditate. Learn how to meditate. You can do something where you start with just counting your breathing. I have people who say, I can't meditate because my brain goes all over the place. Meditation is not about stopping thinking. It's about letting the thoughts just flow until you get to the point where they don't really mean anything. And what means more to you as you practice is your connection with that energy source. That becomes more important to you than anything else you could think about. And then after you learn how to practice that and put yourself in the right state, then you can start to be aware of how you feel. So for me, I meditate before I pray. Why? Because I want to put myself in a certain vibrational space before I address that source energy that I'm seeking, that supreme wisdom, that knowledge that I'm seeking. I put myself in a certain state. So I don't want to be mad. I don't want to have something else on my mind when I'm addressing God in that formal prayer. But for the most part, I'm praying all day, all the time. But in those formal prayers, I do meditate up front. But learning to meditate is going to really help you. When you just start with 10 seconds or 60 seconds even. I tell people, if you can count 60 breaths, just 1, 2, and you can do it silently. It's hard to think of something else while you're counting your breath. If 60 is too much, start with 10. And do that as soon as you feel any type of extreme emotion. And then you ask yourself, how am I feeling? I'm feeling sad. Am I feeling bad? I do this around goals that I have. I teach this a lot to men because men tend to ignore their own feelings. They have an imbalance between their heart and their mind, especially very masculine, macho men, if you will, men who are alpha males. They tend to do that. And so I teach them to take those 60 seconds where they're counting their breath, set the scriptures aside, set your knowledge of Jesus aside, and just count out 60 breaths for me quietly. And then check in with yourself. Then say your prayers. Here's another thing that's important. I mentioned this. If you're working on something and you have a goal, let's say you're trying to make money. You're trying to figure out how to get a business off the ground. You have to be aware of the energy that you are putting out that is preventing the money from coming to you. Okay. You can't just always say it's difficult. I ain't doing nothing wrong. I'm focused on it every day. Well, what are you really focusing on? Are you focusing so hard on it that what you're really focused on is the fact that it's not there? And so therefore it's not there. What are you focused on? So that awareness is going to help you to know where you need to tweak. If all you're doing all day is thinking about how you don't have money, then that's going to be the reason why you don't have it. It's because that's what you're thinking about. So being aware of it. And so if I have something I'm trying to manifest and it's just not coming, then I stop myself and I say, what emotions am I having around this goal? What am I just too worried? Am I too nervous? Am I too afraid? What emotions am I having around that goal? Let me be aware of the emotional state that I go into when I'm thinking about that goal. And if I'm aware of it, then I can say, I need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe that's not where I need to be. So it's about being an architect of your own emotions. Okay. Unfortunately, for most of us, we allow somebody else to control our emotions. Okay. When we talk about empathy, part of some of our problems is that we're just too mean. We're too mean. We're too evil. We're too surly. We're too hard on people, too angry on people, angry at people, too upset about everything. And all of that low vibrational and negative energy is what is preventing you from having whatever it is that you want and need in your life. I'm stopping there because I want you to think about it. When's the last time you did something nice for somebody? Somebody who didn't owe you anything, somebody who you didn't owe anything to, somebody who just maybe needed a little grace and mercy. When's the last time you extended that? When is the last time you put yourself in somebody else's shoes? That's that empathy piece. Okay. Again, mindfulness. And we've been talking about this throughout the whole time of making sure that we pay attention to ourselves. We are mindful of where we are at all times. Emotions can be a great compass. They can tell you if you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction if we learn how to use them. Okay. You got to be an architect of your own emotions. You got to be able to change your own emotional state like that. You got to be able to say, let me snap out of this. Let me snap myself out of it. I got to go for a walk. I got to go for a swim. I got to put on some music. I got to do something, but let me snap up out of this. And this is where mindfulness is key. Because so many times we use deceptive intelligence. Okay. Because so many times we use deceptive intelligence. And we think that the way that we're thinking is all right and it's all on the right track. We're not mindful, again, of the energy that we have when it relates or comes to certain subjects. And this is the real reason why oftentimes we aren't effective. Curiosity, I love this one because, I've heard the minister say that you have to go inside of yourself and study yourself. To me, that's like just being curious. Who am I? What is this body that I'm in? And, Allah, why did you choose this vessel to come in? What did you want? What were you trying to say? What were you trying to express? What lineage do I come from? People who came before me 100,000 years ago, who were they? What, just being curious about yourself. This emotion, this common emotion that I have. Where did I get this from? Is it from my parents? Is it from my great great grandparents? Is it from my great 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 grandparents? What is it? And why did you make me like this? Why in a curious way, not in a why you make me like this? Not in that. Why did you make me like this? What did you hope to accomplish? What did you want? Because when you decided to show up on the planet in this body with this face, this everything, you had something that you were trying to express. And I am so curious to know what that is. Curiosity is key to emotional intelligence because, again, all of these things, awareness and curiosity, is going to really break you of those habits of competitiveness and all of that. I love it when I start to see my friends going on this same journey that I'm on. I already know when I meet people if they're like on an insecure plane or they're on a competitive plane. I know they're going to self-destruct. So I just continue to be me. But and if I love you into self-destruction, then maybe that'll help you get yourself back together. But just being curious. Who am I and what am I and what did I show up on the planet to do? And that little piece of God that is in me, what's it here to say? What's it here to do? What's it here to shine a light on? What's it here to help God with? And so those are forms of curiosity and questions that you should be asking yourself all the time. You know what? And we got to play. We got to live a little. Because I'm going to tell you something that happens to us as entrepreneurs and those of us that think that we so serious and we such top soldiers and all of that. Oftentimes when we can't produce because we're doing too much of the same thing over and over again. Okay. So sometimes, let's say you are an entrepreneur and money's not coming in and you're kind of hitting a little bit of a dry patch and you're like man, I'm not getting any contracts. I'm not selling any cookies. I'm not selling any cars or insurance policies or whatever it is. I'm hitting a dry patch. And a lot of times our go-to is to just do more of the same. Just work a little harder. Okay, I made 50 calls yesterday. Let me try to make 75 today. That could be a goal, but you also got to try to fit in some moments for life. When do you go out and just enjoy nature? When do you go out and just recalibrate yourself and look at the grass? When do you go out and take your shoes off and ground yourself into the earth? When do you go out and call a friend and say, hey, let's go to dinner? When do you go out with your husband or your wife and say, let's go do something fun? It doesn't have to be a vacation where you wait every 3 months or every once a year before you get together. Why not take some time to live a little? Because we got to learn to pray. You got to back up off of it. See, the key to manifestation is you put it in motion, you put your mind on it, you focus on it, but you got to know when to back up off of it. Because if you're pressing too much, then your focus shifts from this is what I want to this is what I don't have, or to I want it, but I ain't got it. It ain't here. And now all that strong energy, because you know how powerful your mind is, all that strong energy now just goes into making sure that it doesn't happen, because that's really what you're starting to think about every day. Even while you're making those extra phone calls, you're setting that new goal for yourself. Stop for a minute and recalibrate yourself so that when you're making those extra 15 calls or talking to those extra 20 people, that your conversation is not in front, but what's behind the conversation isn't Man, I ain't sold a car all month. That can't be your dominant focus. All right. We talked about resilience. You got to build those muscles. You got to be able to bounce back. You can't go down just because something happened. You got to find a way to bounce back. And the easiest way to do that is to work yourself through it so you prevent these traumas from happening on the front end. And that's what we're going to talk about in the Financial Trauma Boot Camp. We're going to help you prevent. We're going to help you if you're in it. And we're going to help you if it already happened and it negatively has impacted you. And for most of us, we're in all three of those dimensions. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Nana Kosei Venture says, they say common sense may not be common. No, but yeah, they do say that. Tapping in, Timestamp Army. Hey there. I saw Sister Betty there earlier. Communication. I have several classes here on the Sajdah channel about communication. Several classes that I did when I was on radio in Washington, D.C. about communication. Okay. We have to work on our communication. And I'm going to tell you another little trick, something that happens to us. Don't let people come and drop seeds on you about somebody else, and then you end up being emotionally responsive to what they told you. And the whole time that person either didn't say it, or that wasn't the energy that they said it with, or that wasn't their intention. Bring those two people together. Say, you know what? I want to have a conversation with both of y'all. I want to get to the bottom of it. And when you start to practice that type of communication, or if somebody bothers you or offends you, and you say, hey, you know what? I just got to holler at you because what you just said back there, I didn't understand it, or I didn't appreciate it, or it was offensive. Because a lot of times people do be on BS, but they may have a habit of being on BS. And they may go, but you know what? I really don't want to be on BS with you. Okay, well, I'm going to call you out then on your BS because I see it. And so sometimes that's important. Sometimes just communicating how you feel, communicating what you observe. And let me say this also to you guys. If a lot of us are so smart, we got our own agenda. We think we're doing so much. As soon as somebody try to communicate something to us, we interrupt it. We got ADHD as soon as somebody starts talking to us. We can talk, and bark our instructions and talk to everybody like they're a child. And most of us usually, and this is a challenging thing for a lot of women. I used to have a manager like this. She tried to manage people. When I made her a manager, we hired her as a manager, actually. Her management style was like she was managing her children at home. And so people couldn't stand her because she would talk to them like they was a child, because that was the only management style that she knew. And she probably lied on her resume and probably didn't really have management experience other than raising her children. And so some people go to work like that, and they talk to people all the time like they're children, and they just talk. And then as soon as somebody starts to say something, they get ADHD. Hold on one second. Or, I'll be right back. Or, oh, you know what? They change the subject right while you're in mid-communication. That's bad. And if you do that, I'm telling you, you're going to impact the quality of your relationships with people. And if you're on here as an entrepreneur, you are going to impact how you make money. Most people who are like that only make money when they beg other people for it. And so their whole life is, ooh, let me see what they got. Let me go over here and try to be friends with that person. And they're literally like stealing friends from people and swooping in because they're trying to take. Oh, I need to be your friend. Oh, I need to be with you. Oh, I need to see you. And so they never really find a permanent home or a permanent tribe because the communication is bad. And so when people start to get close to them, nobody want to be talked to like a child. You know, sometimes people will let you get away with that when they first meet you because they're like, maybe they're just passionate. Maybe because I know they don't think I'm their child. I know they ain't got their papers mixed up. But sometimes people stay like that. So work on your communication, but specifically work on your communication when somebody else is talking to you. And don't dominate the whole conversation. Hey, Sister Sandra, peace and love and blessings. She said, family, good topic. I have to catch the replay. Yes, ma'am. All right. There's 5 mental exercises to strengthen your emotional fitness. You guys can go through these slides. We talked about this. Check in with yourself multiple times a day. We talked about this all the time on Coffee Talks. Check in with yourself multiple times a day. And what I like to do is I incorporate that checking in with myself with my meditation and my prayer those multiple times a day. Okay. So I'm checking in with myself. How am I doing? How am I feeling? Let me get in a quick meditation. Let me get my prayer in. And sometimes in between those moments, I'm like, okay, how am I doing? So you got to check in with yourself multiple times a day. And be honest with yourself when you check in with yourself. Don't lie. The check-in is not for you to repeat your affirmations. We say, how am I doing? I'm whole, I'm perfect, I'm strong. No. What was all that? I'm not saying check in and say your affirmations. I'm saying really check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how are you doing? Right now, I'm feeling mad, or right now, I'm tired. And then you can say, okay, why am I tired? It's 11 a.m. I shouldn't be tired. Why am I tired? Is there something that I have to face that I'm making myself tired so I don't have to do it? Dissect, be curious about that. Or, you know what? I'm just mad. I'm feeling real mad. Okay, that's fine. Don't get mad at yourself for being mad. Just say, okay, what are you mad about? What made you mad? And have that conversation with yourself so you can start unraveling it. Not check in with yourself just so you can say a bunch of phony stuff to yourself that even you don't even believe. Okay? All right. And then you want to acknowledge the emotions and thoughts. Like we just said, you're going to check in. You're going to acknowledge those emotions and those thoughts. Okay? You're going to acknowledge it and you're going to say, okay, I'm feeling tired, but it's 11 a.m. I slept all night. Why am I tired? I don't think I'm sick. Is it that and this is so common, is it that meeting that I'm supposed to have at 1:00, I don't really want to do it, so my body is just kind of shutting down? Then I get to go to the meeting and be like, and then they say, how you doing? I'm tired, shoot. And then that becomes kind of like a little deceptive intelligence as to why I'm not going to perform my best. But acknowledgement, checking in with yourself is going to be key on that. Okay? I just said it. Don't make your emotions wrong. Don't be upset with yourself because you feel a certain way. If you say, man, I just really feel sad right now, then you gotta check in with yourself. Is this somebody else's sadness that you're feeling? Did somebody just call you and dump their sadness on you? Did they just call you and change your vibration? When you check in with yourself, it'll help you to know, ooh, I have to be careful because before I go do such and such, before I go into this meeting, I can't have a conversation with that coworker at the water cooler because they really changed my emotional state. If you check in with yourself, you know that. And it'll help you so that even when you see that person, you can go, okay, but I'm not going there with them today. Okay. So don't make it wrong. It is what it is. All right. Sadness. And then you start dissecting. What is it? Where did it come from? And you're being honest with yourself. One of the pledges that we take at the beginning of Financial Trauma Boot Camp is I will face my problems head on. I will stop lying. When we say we stop lying to ourselves first. Stop lying altogether, but especially to ourselves. Okay. Don't judge yourself. We talked about that. I think sometimes we have those feelings, we become aware, and then once we become aware, we judge ourselves. You're so stupid. Why would you even be thinking like that? Or just some kind of judgment. Judgment is often finding a way to package that something up so that you make an excuse for it and discriminate against it. And some of us treat ourselves worse than our enemies treat us. Nana says, I always wonder why someone can emotionally dump on another and then feel nothing. Well, they can do it because their empathy muscle is not strong. So their thing is they want to get it off of themselves. So they think that if they come over to you and vomit it all over onto you, that the sickness is going to leave them. It's not. Most of the time, especially if it's somebody you're in a relationship with, any kind of relationship, they're going to change your vibration. So now they have no chance of finding the healing in you that they could have found in you if they didn't just vomit all over you. Right? So they make you sick, and now they're sick, and both of y'all sick together, and then it becomes even more difficult to get well and to heal. All right? So don't judge yourself. Okay? I remember doing this presentation after the slap happened, and I titled the slide, Win the Battle in Your Mind Before It Becomes a Thing. Yeah, we got to work on our minds, because sometimes a lot of us find ourselves doing things. And here's an example. A lot of us know this when it comes to anger. Have you gotten so mad that, for me, when I get upset and somebody really takes me there, I see what's going to happen before it happens. And when I know that I'm on the verge of doing something really bad, it usually comes to me first. And I have two choices at that moment: to either ignore what I'm seeing and just go off, or see it and go, you know what, let me dial it back. It's like somebody messing with you, and you see yourself tearing up the house with that person. I'm trying to be nice, but you see yourself doing some stuff. You knew you was going to slap them because you saw yourself slapping them. Well, when you seen it like that, you had a couple choices: not slap them, or go ahead on and slap them. Either way, emotions were involved. You either ignored the emotions or you dealt with the emotions. So that battle in your mind is going to happen, especially when you raise your awareness before the incident per se even goes down. I bet you when Will got up on that stage and he started walking towards Chris Rock, he was telling himself, I'm finna slap the you-know-what out of him. And I don't care. So see, you start using deceptive intelligence because you already know what you're about to do. And you're like, I don't care. And then sometimes that process happens so fast, that process of seeing it, denying it, and doing it anyway happens so fast that it's a blur, and it's almost like you black out. And then afterwards you're like, damn, did I just slap her? Did I just slap that person? So this is why all of this emotional fitness and stuff is important, because when we don't have empathy levels, when we don't have the curiosity, we don't have our awareness levels up, we don't have a lot of things in place, our communication's not in place, that process where we go from 0 to 10 can happen so fast that all the steps in between are a blur, and it's almost like we blacked out. And that's not necessarily good. All right. Most of you all know how to reach me. That's all my information there. If you want to book, if you want to follow me on other platforms and all of that stuff, it's also going across the bottom of the screen. Yeah, it is good to have an advisor around you that you can trust, if you can have an advisor around you. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you can't find anybody to have around you. You just are kind of on your own, going through your own stuff. So we got to learn how to be architects of our own mind. All right, family, thank you for listening. Tomorrow morning, we are going to have a special Sajdah morning birthday coffee talk. All right, it is the first day of my 10-day celebration. If Farrakhan was around Will Smith, he wouldn't do it. Well, I would say definitely if the minister was around Will Smith, he would definitely encourage him not to do it. And there would be a clean, strong, emotional, divine intelligence around him. But we can't say that Will wouldn't do it, because a lot of us are around great advisors and supreme wisdom, but we do stuff anyway. You know, the mind has a way of being deceptive. So we can be certain of what Minister Farrakhan would be like, but we can't be certain that Will wouldn't respond the way that he responded. We would hope he wouldn't. And we would hope that we wouldn't, being exposed to certain wisdom and knowledge. But, sometimes those situations come to teach us, and we got a lesson to learn. And so we get caught up, and that's how we got to learn the lesson. All right. So sign up for Financial Trauma Boot Camp. I got an important announcement to make for you guys about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. That is coming soon. And so join me. Let's celebrate. I'm celebrating for 10 days. Tomorrow's my born day, my birth anniversary. And then the 9th is my spiritual anniversary. And so we got this 10-day celebration happening. And day 1 is tomorrow morning. Kicks off at 6 a.m. on the Sajdah Friday morning coffee talk. So bring your coffee, tell a friend. I want to see hundreds of us on here tomorrow. It's not about just celebrating me. Let's just celebrate each other. All right. So sign up for Financial Trauma Boot Camp, sponsor a family. It's only $88 per household. We got some great, amazing experts coming, and we just got to dig in and heal and get ourselves to another level. All right. So I love each and every one of you. I wish all of you more goodness, more love, more peace than you've ever experienced or imagined. And be it the will of Allah, I will see each and every one of you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for the birthday coffee talk, okay, on the Sajdah channel. All right, with that, don't go anywhere. Take a look at these Financial Trauma Boot Camp commercials to remind you all why you should sign up and why you should sponsor a family and why you should make sure that your children are checking out these boot camps as well.
Anticipate and mitigate the emotional impact of negative financial issues that could potentially create financial trauma. Identify whether or not your relationship with money is negatively impacted by a previously traumatic event. Learn to manage your decisions and mindset to help prevent the onset of financial trauma. Understand how to handle financially devastating events like foreclosure, how to avoid getting into a situation that threatens your property, and how to save your property if you are in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure. Navigate your way through a divorce and how to potentially avoid financial devastation to your family. You will walk away with resources to help you start, manage, and scale your business. You'll walk away with resources who can help you to avoid and prevent foreclosures. You also walk away with resources to help you avoid and navigate divorce. You will walk away knowing that you are not alone. Be a friend and tell a friend. Register today.